Hey, everybody. Welcome back to your favorite media response show. We are, of course, X is for Show, and you can check us out on all the social media at X is for Show. If we were X-Men, you'd have to find us like in the deep past or something, or maybe the far-flung future. No one can ever be sure. But either way, you can check us out at X is for Show. You can check me out at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. And I can't wait to get rolling.
And I'm TK. I also cannot wait to get rolling. And you can find me at TK Elemental.
And I'm Jonah, and you can find me at places online at Peak Jonah. That's Peak.
That makes me your producer, Kevo. You can find me at Kevo Really. That's KEVOREALLY. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment to let us know what you want us to cover in the future. And today we are going to be covering something very exciting indeed. The finale of X-Men 97 and the potential future of X-Men 98. I feel like that's something that we're throwing around, but I don't think anyone's officially said it.
Well, you know, it's that complicated thing of branding anymore. It's always so difficult to figure out how they're going to want to handle the nomenclature. Is it worth it for the new entry on IMDb? Because now that we live in the age of web portals, Disney Plus can likely just make it like a portal, a landing page, and they'll never have trouble linking you to their own work. So always of note to think about. I don't know, but I'm really stoked to talk about this, guys. What do you think?
I am super stoked to talk about it. I am sort of curious as well about that branding exercise and idea. I mean, I say jump. Let's do X-Men 2000. 97 is kind of an arbitrary year. Well, I mean, I guess it's the next year after the show ended, but
I get you at this point now.
Yeah, and so something like 2000 would be interesting. It would also be like kind of a big deal because that would mean that 3 years had passed since all the stuff that went down at the end of the finale. So it would give some real weight to it. But it's funny, like, if a lot of people were producing a show, like if I think about a show like Beacon 23, and they finish this 2-season arc that they are about to finish up, and they get renewed again, but they're like, no, this time it's Beacon 57 and it's all new stories. Then exactly what you just said, I would be like, you guys are going to have a lot of trouble. People are going to get confused. You just want one landing page. Like, be careful. You're on MGM Plus. But with Disney's highest rated MCU show, one of the biggest things to happen in forever, I basically, like, they can kind of do whatever, whether it would be X-Men 97 Season 2, X-Men 2000, New X-Men, whatever they call it. I think they're in an amazing place where they kind of won't have the problems that almost any other show that tried to do something similar could have.
Yeah, I mean, I get Grey's Anatomy has 1,000 spinoffs, but like, there's no thing that comes after Anatomy. Like what? Like Orgo? Like organic chemistry, Grey's organic chemistry. It just doesn't have the same power.
Yeah, what I mean? And it's never been anybody else's Anatomy. I think at this point, nobody remembers that that's a reference to a textbook.
And I just feel like at some point, the most outspoken, amazing woman in Hollywood, you just think that she would have been like, at some point, can we stop making the show refer to my character's anatomy? You know what I mean? Hey, Ellen Pompeo, we love you.
It's her emotional anatomy.
Ooh.
And yet there's literally never any kind of therapist or psychiatrist on that show.
Why would there be? It's television. So I want to start with, Jonah, you mega watched the original series, and then you watched this season live. Whether it's these 4 unbelievable cameos on the screen that I can't wait to talk about, like Spidey and MJ. I'm so sorry, Peter and Jackpot. We got Canon Betsy Psylocke, not sure where to place it. The incredible Black Panther, Daredevil, Kevo.
How could we forget my favorite edgelords, Cloak and Dagger?
Oh my gosh, and of course, Omega Red. And
plus a wonderful cameo from Allie Galactic. Thanks for joining us, Allie.
I was about to say, Kevo, I love that you. That's why I said I love that you covered your face with Allie. That little face was right there like a mask.
No one can prove I'm still doing my homework.
Mask for mask. But Jonah, I want to ask you, what's your vibes on this season finale?
So I was watching this and I was like, damn, this is taking forever. This is going on for so long. And then I realized, oh, that has to. Somebody once said a very interesting quote to me. I read an interesting quote by someone talking about the X-Men and how the X-Men will never succeed in the Charles Xavier goal of living prosperously with humanity, coexisting, cohabitating, because the X-Men need plot. The entire point of the X-Men is they show the struggles and strifes of insert marginalized group. And I'm watching this finale and I was like, yes, I understand that's the main point of the X-Men. And this is where I was like, well, Val Cooper was right, and by extension, Magneto was right. It's almost, I understand this is a very hyper-exaggerated version of real-life events and real-life stories, but in the example that they chose for this, I'm not saying they have to get overly complex with things, it just felt a little like, just nobody with like half a brain cell doesn't think like there's problems with like everything that they're doing. Like nobody with...
Yeah, the cartoon logic that sometimes bang bounds across the screen is cartoon logic.
It was just I wish maybe we scaled it better to where it I feel like it has to make some semblance of sense. Like, I understand Orcus's rise to power in the Krakoan era. That makes sense. We kind of saw that, but because Sebastian was kind of like relegated to the back half and latter of the series, you don't really see his rise to making the X-Men and mutants the enemy. So it comes across like he's kind of just picking on them, and everyone's just kind of cool with it. I guess we're all complicit.
Well, and then the power up. Can we just that I hated it. That is, if I'm gonna say, you know what,
You're jumping all the way to the end of the third episode.
I'm just poking it. I was wrong. This season was good, and I thought it couldn't be. And I was happy to give every one of these episodes a B or better live, week after week, really enjoying myself. But the stupid Bastion Battle Beetleborg power-up at the end was not good. It was silly. Very silly.
I mean, for me, it had less to do with it and more to do with the fact that the show is really trying to hit on beats throughout the X-Men's entire history in the 97 context. That's a moment.
Which is why Jonah's so right. Everyone's got to be miserable all the time. They're trying to hit all the big ones.
And it's kind of a greatest hits of the X-Men's misery. But so that's a Bastion moment from Second Coming, not from Operation Zero Tolerance. So, for sorry people, spoilers for comics that don't matter and happened over a decade ago. But, after Operation Zero Tolerance, Bastion goes away or whatever, and then reappears again or whatever. I mean, I don't want to get into the plot of what happens there, but he is not a prominent villain. He's not like a Magneto where he shows up regularly. He's pretty much gone. And then there are a series of stories, Messiah Complex, Messiah War, and Second Coming, all about the mutant Messiah and the enemies of the X-Men trying to stop the coming of the mutant Messiah and any kind of ascendancy of the mutants. Bastion is one of them, and in that time he takes on this horrifying android death angel form. And, again, spoiler alert, and something that everybody was talking about, he kills Nightcrawler. It's like the only thing of consequence that really comes out of Second Coming is Nightcrawler dies for a while before they literally go to heaven on a pirate ship and get him, which was the worst.
I'm going to defend Amazing X-Men to the ends of the earth, because
which was the worst.
It's only as much actual heaven as the White Hot Room is any of the spirituality it steals.
Which was the worst. And so anyway, that's everybody. As soon as he took on that horrible form, everybody was like, oh, we're about to kill Nightcrawler, which would suck. But of course, this is the other thing that X-Men 97 does. It'll pull beats from from other moments in X-Men history, but then spin them in its own weird X-Men 97 way. Yeah, I mean, this is, we've seen this moment in a comic book before, but it was Logan, and it was way.
Oh,
less
here I'm
sexy
gonna say
than this.
Angel.
There, yeah.
I was
we've
gonna
also-
say Jost Man.
There you go. All of the above. Thank you, everyone. So they've got plenty of inspiration to draw from, but to your original point, I would have cared a little bit more if it was like somebody's really taking liberties idea with how to make Joseph seem more badass. It was really just, the writers pulling from stuff that had happened in the comics. And so I just, it ultimately, I didn't love it, but I also wasn't like, how dare they come up with this stupid idea?
Can I also just quickly say, as somebody who's not fully familiar with the source material,
Yeah.
I got very confused with Sebastian because he looks
Bastion.
like Magneto. Bastion.
No
Sebastian.
shit.
Bastion.
Just
Well,
Bastion.
no, it is
Well, that
also
even
Sebastian,
speaks
and
to
they
it,
refer.
But I mean, but it's Bastion as opposed to Sebastian Shaw.
Right.
Exactly.
But they
Yeah.
Bastion.
way more often than they ever do in the comics on the
Ever.
show, they refer to him as like Sebastian Gilmore or whatever the F his name is.
Bastion, Legion, don't know his name. Regardless, this
Hollow
man.
Bastion.
Sorry to this man. I don't know who he is, but I was confused because he looks like Magneto. He has very similar purples and he has the white hair, and I was like, "Is this like a different Magneto? Is this a clone Magneto?" No, it was, as somebody who's not as familiar, it was a little jarring. And then to follow Nico and jump aboard the jumping ahead, his power up form, not fully their fault, but it just kind of looked like a purple archangel.
Yeah.
I wish they kind of went with a different direction to try to differentiate it, because that's all it was giving.
I'm gonna just jump in and ding-a-ling, because again, I'm giving this an A-B+. But no, they did so many insane liberties with so many things. It actually is their fault if they made a design that doesn't look that original, because they went off the rails in some really cool ways. Why not change this? Why not upgrade that? I do think there is just some not great. He also looks a little bit like Iron Man there. Like, it's not a great villain. It's not a great design. It's when I think about moments that are going to define fandom, fan reaction, the emotional caliber of what makes a villain for the rest of my big gay life, I'm going to think about, somebody show me what my face looks like. Oh no.
Highball.
I'm getting there.
That's it. Full stop. End of thought.
Delete
I
it,
love
balls.
that. It was stupid. It was stupid to the point where it was maybe too stupid. But in a lot of ways, this actually feels like they were also kind of trying to tie up Krakoa. I think Bastion stands in for Fei Long. I think Sinister getting defeated by the Phoenix is Sinister getting defeated by the Phoenix, which is I kind of think what's about to happen either way. So I really feel like I just remembered that Mr. Sinister is in that stupid Apocalypse miniseries, and now I just can't even fathom. I just feel like this had some really interesting telegraphy.
Sure. I also thought it was really weird that they specifically wrote in the dialogue points of Sinister is cannibalizing mutant and specifically Summers and Jean and Grey DNA to do his stuff, because that's actually a really cool point. And sort of they at least got to something. They did it in a very silly way, and I don't believe it quite, given the fact that by the end of the show it's getting into genocide and all of these very adult topics, the fact that they kind of have a goofy my beautiful wickedness villain was a little bit weird. But they kind of point to the fact that there's nowhere that Sinister, being the big bad of the end of the Krakoan era, can go, because what's he doing? What is the end game of any of the Sinisters? even when you say like the end game is so far outside of time and space, like they haven't even gotten Enigma to say like there's actually something going on that I literally can't even explain to you because I exist as an entity that doesn't have time or space, and I literally don't have we don't share the same language. This is why you can't talk to ants. I cannot tell you. Like, they can't even say that. So it's basically him just being like, I really want to live. And then what is every other Sinister's motivation? I at least loved that in this one, it was like he has to do this in order to maintain whatever structure he has. And that's like a somewhat passable villainous motivation that for me,
self-preservation for sure.
Yeah, it really highlighted the fact that like for all the time Sinister is like, but I have to do this experiment and this science. I got to build this engine. For what the fuck end? It's like the science for science's sake is so old now as an X-Men thing, and like other people do it better. Dark Beast does it better because it's a reflection of a character we know, but I don't really care what Sinister Science is because it never applies to anything.
Well, and I want to jump in on that
Yeah.
because number one, I love that you brought up the less evil beast, and number two, I think that this image really, I thought it was crazy because this was the most exquisite accents, over the top costumes, and bizarre political difficulties that I had seen since Eurovision the weekend before. And I found myself fascinated by how, like you said, those adult themes, that political intrigue, the consequences of reality were being set against some more or less silly things. And I think that's what made the Sinister stuff work here so well. They were telling him that mutants are about evolution, and he's not evolved. He's borrowing evolution. When you copy someone's advancement, you're not advanced. You just looked over somebody advanced's homework, and that's not the same thing. And I think this idea that his plot is a meta-contextual conversation about detached villainy, but it still is this sort of silly thing because even though, yes, he is doing it to survive, he's doing it to survive because he put mutant in himself. You know what I mean? It still is that silly self-Frankensteining. It's the thing that made What If not work for me. Super evil multiverse Doctor Strange just kind of makes me sleepy. And making Sinister a funny mutant version of it really worked for me. And I think it's all of the levels you're talking about. It's the silliness of the comic. It's the well-decided reinvention of it for the animated series. It really is a cool way to express Sinister in a time where I don't think Sinister can ever be cool again.
That's a really interesting point. I wonder if Sinister can ever be cool again.
I'm frazzled because I can tell you the moment Sabretooth died was the moment that Wolverine hacked him to itty bitty bits, and then he like grew back a month later at the end of the Chuck Austin run. Mm-hmm. Like there's moments that kind of break things for me. I'll be honest. There were moments in here that I think pushed things, but I was really on the whole.
Name them.
Oh.
Give me one.
One was definitely this 3-part arc, Magneto's
journey,
compass point. The direction that Magneto pointed at any given moment was a little frustrating for me. The back and forth became unclear. Rogue as the barometer for which this show operates herself could not control it, though Kevo has this one screenshot that is like ironically it's a shipper's dream because it's Rogue standing by Magneto's entire family, and then it's this really hot couple on the other side. And so I feel really good about that joke.
It's not a joke if it's true.
Speaking of Rogue, and then speaking of shippers.
Yeah.
Woke, as Kurt would say.
This is not the problem for me. That was fine.
I thought it was fine. There was definitely moments where I was like, this is why they fired him. They only got the dailies back from this the week the show aired, and that's why they fired him.
For me, the problem was when he attacked Rogue and Beto and Jubilee.
Yeah. I thought this was very cute.
This
Magneto
tender
and Charles
gay
was
moment.
very cute and very clearly as gay as they could possibly make it without ever having them kiss or anything. Like, it's just one
Now
of those
kiss.
silly things. Now seriously kiss. It's one of those really, really silly things that, like, you just can't ever. It's so sad to me that there's all these people sitting at Marvel offices, executives on up, who are just like, we can't do it. And it's now literally having them kiss on panel would make things seem less silly and would emasculate them less than doing it via innuendo in 8 different venues and having the only energy behind these two characters be the fascination with how gay they are for each other, because literally they're 60 plus years old in character time. They're 200 plus years old as a group. All we have left to do with them is the things that we haven't seen on screen, and the only thing we haven't seen is them actually canonically be gay. So that is the entirety of the interest in them.
Well, one other major thing, because it's happening over at DC, they haven't fought King Kong.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like this. No, fantastic point. I mean, the next series we're absolutely getting them versus the Predalien.
Exactly. I was gonna say versus Alien after
versus
the Wolverine
on
thing.
Planet of the Apes, Dr. Zaius versus Professor X. These things are happening because that's all we've got left. We only have insane. What other properties? You know, Magneto fucks Rom the Space Knight. Like, this is all we have left.
I dream of that. Because I think you're even right. There's gonna be like weird Arthurian inserts, kind of the way DC's done it a few times.
Well, and I mean, we have our weird Arthurian inserts because that's another rogues gallery of Jed McKay Avengers villains that are all too powerful for them to beat until they do a wife swap and then they can beat them all.
Well, so Kevo, thank you so much for
There
getting
it
up.
is.
There it is. This is
Marvel's
Rogue.
greatest couple.
Exactly. Rogue, the shipper of Magneto, Magneto's whole family. They're on a boat, motherfucker. Don't you ever forget. And there's a really hot couple to the left.
I love how the boat is like, they've got the tires on the side. Like, I don't know. Anyway.
None of this is in the Bible.
On their
None
rubber.
of this
He's
is in the Bible.
Magneto. What is that?
Oh my god, what is that?
I just feel like this group as a whole could afford a really nice boat. And instead, here we are. Anyway.
Got this.
Yeah.
It's kind of
Go
a
ahead.
dinghy. Yeah, it's a dingy little dinghy.
I do love that, you know, this is, in his mind, this is his family. I thought that
Yes.
was very sweet. I thought that was good audience shorthand, too. We were never going to get it if it was Magda and Anya and Nina, whatever the children's names are.
Penta, Santa
Santa
Maria.
And
Santa
you know,
Magneto.
I respect it. There's little things like that where you just really notice that somebody is paying some attention to canon writ large for the X-Men versus canon that's going to work for this show. Just no, I mean, I think Lorna is even kind of a tight reference if all you know is the show. But you know, I really respected that they were like, people are going to recognize that this is his family. They wouldn't recognize anything else. So this is who's on his weird mind boat.
I also want to say that this episode is putting the X in Lux Noir London because this shit was a reference queen. And there were more cameos up in this bitch than my birthday on Instagram. This was an unbelievable number of people just coming to say hi to me and tell me that they love me because it's my birthday and my friends wanted to pay for something special for me. This was amazing. We had my boy Daredevil. I lost my mind. TK said something very early on happened. And I'm thinking it's going to be like somebody says something like, did you think you'd live forever, you little speck? Like, which is like my favorite quote from X-Men. But like, it's not. It's literally Daredevil. We ultimately get Cloak and Dagger, Iron Man. Okay. Kevo's reaction to this was amazing.
That one was the weirdest one to me. Not because Cloak and Dagger, I don't think that they don't have fans, but like you get Daredevil, you get Captain America and Iron Man, you get Petey and Mary J, and then you get Cloak and Dagger, and you're like, you get
Hold on.
Black Panther.
I have a question for you. I only watch live action television. I've never heard of Spider-Man, but I had 2 seasons of Cloak and Dagger that I loved.
Was it really 2 seasons?
Yeah.
Jeez.
Ooh, interesting. Yeah, it was. And a crossover with Runaways. Huh.
Yeah.
Fun fact about that one though, Polaris is in Runaways. Full circle.
Oh, right, because the actress that plays Polaris from what do you call it? Yeah.
From Gifted. Who does she play in Runaways?
Oh, The Gifted. Oh, whoops.
Oh, yeah, he switched over. I knew what he meant though. I was on his side and I wasn't gonna call him out on TV.
Oh, okay.
We're live.
I thought you were saying that she is in both Runaways and The Gifted.
No,
I thought she was. No.
But
I got confused.
amusingly,
Possible.
she is in The Magicians.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, she's great. She should.
And
still
she's
be
great on
Polaris.
Bunheads.
Probably, yeah.
I'm telling you, she is. But I also want to say, Kevo had a really great reaction to this moment as well. Kevo, do you remember your reaction when Black Panther popped on the screen?
I don't. What did I say?
I believe
Oh, God.
you rage screamed, "If he's not played by Chadwick Boseman, we should never see this character again." You get that I'm joking, right?
Yeah.
I thought this was a really cool, brave move because he's not just T'Challa. He's T'Challa with Reed Richards' hair. And
No, this is
This is my
T'Chaka.
question though.
Oh, is this
I was gonna say
T'Chaka?
I
Is
think
it
this is
T'Chaka?
T'Chaka,
It's T'Chaka.
and the other one and the other one in full beat is
Ooh,
actually
yeah.
Black Panther.
okay, first of all, full beat, shut up.
Yeah, full geesh. He's in
Yeah.
his geesh.
And
And-
that was my reading on it, is that this is T'Chaka, which is only hilarious to me because this is what T'Chaka wears when he meets with world leaders, as not technically
don't?
Black Panther.
I
That's
know.
what he
I
also wears to
can't.
the market to go grab some quinoa.
But
Yeah,
now
that-
I need to see a season 1 All-Stars style All-Stars drag race season where they make families compete. Because I would love to see T'Challa and T'Chaka show up and go up against the O'Haras. So
Love it.
like
I like where your head's at. Yeah, I mean, this was I'm so curious what the idea was with the cameos. Was it just the production team being like, "Hey, can we use these characters? It'll make the universe feel a little more lived in," or was it that and then executive producers saying like, because this will be a nice way to test how each of these characters plays on screen for 2 minutes. I mean, like, honest to God, the Daredevil moment really did make me want a Daredevil show. I don't particularly, I mean, like, I think What If is a fantastic Avengers animated show. I don't need, also the Avengers got so many animated shows during the early MCU era. I don't need this show particularly. I love seeing them there. That does make the world feel more lived in. Spider-Man, I know, has his people, and the Spider-Man show was a big deal. So sure, whatever with that. But like,
Oh, I have updates on that, by the way. We should talk about that at some point.
oh wait,
I'm down.
Freshman and sophomore year?
well, no,
yeah.
I'm talking about the old Spider-Man show. Just the fact that like that had a
Oh, okay.
similar audience to X-Men.
Yeah.
The one with Greg Brady.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. We were
Um,
talking about that.
Because
but yeah,
he was
I
in
mean,
an
I
episode of Golden
did.
Girls.
This really just did make me want to see some animated Daredevil. And I'm just, I'm curious what the thinking was. And again, like, what is the thinking having Cloak and Dagger here? What kind of obscure characters to put in? And is there any, like, there's absolutely somebody who's like looking at those reactions and trying to decide whether or not to actually build these out.
I think there's definitely some experimentation as to what's going to contribute to a positive Endgame-esque experience for a Marvel animated universe. Because something I don't want to ding too hard, I don't know if you guys have seen all the stuff going around that the Marvel Television banner is back.
Yeah.
They have unburied Marvel Television as an
Yeah.
entity. And one of the things I think is really key and significant about that division is I'm not like dinging What If. I'm not trying to come after What If so hard, but this gave me a season of television that I enjoyed. And What If gave me a season of television that I gleaned enjoyment from. And there's a huge difference. And I feel like and I've looked at the numbers, they're actually not all that compared to things you think are all that. But so often, the big show isn't the number one show. The number of times that Lost was the number one show of the week in America, next to none. Number of times it was the number one show internationally in the world for the overall season, 6. How many seasons of Lost are there? So do the math, you know what I mean? And I think they're thinking long term about how to invest in this and build that Marvel animated universe with this as a launch point. And in a weird way, they kind of just gave themselves their Nick Fury showing up with Captain America earlier in the season. And now we're seeing this further exploration in a pre-Avengers movie kind of way. Hard pressed for me to believe that season 2 won't be more cameo laden. This is going to be the opposite of one of those CW reboots. There's going to be more cameos in season 2.
Well, that sometimes concerns me though, because part of what I felt, I rewatched all 3 episodes of the finale today, because we have already covered episodes 1 through 7, and the links to those broadcasts are in the comments. So I wanted to refresh myself on the one that we were most reviewing today. And I love the cameos too. But something I couldn't help thinking as I was watching it was, would I be loving this as much if there weren't these cameos? And it's really wonderful that X-Men 97 is able to do these non-speaking cameos for all of these characters, that they don't have to worry about getting the actor permission because it's a live action person. They don't have to worry about paying someone. A lot of them, they haven't even cast these people yet. And that's none of those are things that the live action MCU can do in any way, shape, or form. A lot of people are like, just get them, just make them do it, because a lot of people really don't understand how contracts work, that people get paid, that, yeah, if you want to bring in Bendy Dick Cucumber Patch and have him play Doctor Strange for that one brief cameo where he's just doing surgery, that's going to be expensive as hell. And it's wonderful that they're able to do things like that in X-Men 97 to elevate moments when we look around the world and see who else is being affected by these horrible sequences. But you literally you can't do that on the live action. And so I feel like sometimes they get away with more because they're able to do things like that. And the live action gets dinged on things they can't help by virtue of the fact that, like, I don't know why they brought in Charlize Theron as a cameo as that woman that you love at the very end of Multiverse of Clea. I don't know why they did that, because now Clea is Charlize Theron, or they recast Charlize Theron.
Who was in 1 minute of footage.
1 minute of footage. And now Charlize Theron is Clea, and now they're stuck if they ever want to use that character again. So that's tough. And they can just recast voice actors.
It's an interesting example because I think that was really deliberately chosen. I think she was cast as Clea. And I think that they kind of knew where they were in a holding pattern with Doctor Strange, where if it came back, they were definitely going to need a Charlize Theron to anchor a third movie and elevate it. But if it's just going to be cameos from Doctor Strange, then it's fine. The two that I find really weird and interesting and bad ideas that they're tough to come back from are the dude from Ted Lasso as Hercules. That's a really tough. That's a guy. That's a booked man.
Booked and
Yeah.
blessed.
Booked and blessed.
They got him for Fraggle Rock, but that's because he loves Muppets.
Yeah, exactly. But he's gonna have a lot of offers. It's going to be tough to get his schedule to line up with whatever they want him in. And then Harry Styles.
I have a lot.
For one.
I have a lot of theories on a lot of those castings and how many of those contracts were done before Pando and hit after Pando or during, and they're just stuck with some of them now.
I mean, I'm sure it's even worse after Pando, but like no matter what, that was Harry Styles was a huge risk. And like, because that's, if it wasn't Thanos' little brother, it'd be one thing, but like that's the only way you get into Thanos mythos. So I don't know. It's weird.
Thanos mythos is my new favorite encyclopedia for Marvel space canon.
Look at Puck hiding behind Conan's sword over there.
What I hope for is that we get some crossovers with Nintendo. Not today, Star Fox.
Yes. But also, that's not Cypher you're looking at. That's Cypher you're looking at. There's 2 characters in the X-Men named Cypher, one with a Y, one with an I, just because. And That's the second Cypher. She is so cool. Does not get enough love. Does not get enough respect or attention. As is the unfortunate miscast of so many X characters from the late '90s to the mid 2010s.
Yeah, I think Young X-Men was 2008.
Yeah. Fine. I think Arcady has never been cooler. The one thing that Benjamin Percy on X-Force really got right every single issue was Omega Red, kind of despite my best wishes. Didn't nail everything every issue, but this character he did. And now I kind of only want good guy Omega Red stories for the rest of my life, the same way I feel about Juggernaut.
Omega Red, the plain Jane of the X-Men universe.
Also, the reason I started laughing really hard was because I couldn't stop thinking to myself, Charlize Theron.
I've been there. I've been there many a time.
I love seeing the Red Guard, Winter Guard.
I hope she goes there.
We also had I thought was interesting Silver Samurai because he was there.
They literally are just like, and he's there.
My husband. This is.
He doesn't even give a facial expression when he sees they turned the world back on. He is literally just like, I have observed that this moment happened. I got to get back inside. I've got a hot pocket in the microwave.
I also like to believe he stood there the entire time. I'm pretty sure like a day has passed, and he just stood there.
Yeah, he's like, I'm standing here until somebody turns the world back on. I'm sick of this shit.
The only person half as cool as Silver Samurai is his nephew, who donned the armor for a while.
And let's be very clear, none of them are that cool.
Viper is not that cool. Silver Samurai is awesome.
Silver Samurai bums around while his sister, niece, what is Mariko? Cousin, murders herself with blowfish toxin, all for the love of Logan. There's so much about all of Clan Yoshida that is just like the weirdest lack of understanding of Japanese tradition mixed with weird. Right? Everybody is an Akira Yoshida. It's all bad news bears, and I don't.
Well, do you not know the story of how they came up with all of it?
Yes.
It's Frank Miller and Chris Claremont in a car on the way to San Diego Comic-Con being like, I've been reading these mangas lately.
Yep. Which is never a great place to start from. I really like the only person of that ilk who's kind of been redeemed through mostly women rewriting her better is Lady Deathstrike. And I just think everybody who has ever been in that orbit needs their own version of like Alyssa Wong's, and I'm trying to remember who wrote. Unfortunately, some of that was Guggenheim, but like there have been a few Lady Deathstrikes in the last 10 years that have really turned the character around. Alyssa Wong's was the best lately.
There was also one by a canceled writer, unfortunately, Brian Wood, that is extremely good. That's the adjectiveless X-Men run that's all X-women.
That's the one that I'm talking about, where she had the
Guggenheim finishes it after Wood is unceremoniously removed.
Oh, okay, yeah. Where she's it's all Mexican influence,
yes.
Which like I loved the aesthetics of that, and also just the idea of like somebody else's cultural interpretation of death and Lady Deathstrike. But immediately my thing was like absolutely nobody that is related to Mesoamerican beliefs or like traditions.
Husband.
Yep, I'm waiting till I see those yellow rings and then I'll go inside.
I love him so much. I just think he's great.
He grimaced, came back.
Keba, would you do me a favor and would you hop back one frame? What do you call it?
Describe it.
The Daredevil one.
Yeah. Oh, but first of all, I want to point out real quick something that I love from the Daredevil scene. First of all, obviously, Josie's.
Yep.
But then, and as soon as I can get my stupid thing to zoom in again, there's a sign here that says mutants are friends.
Yeah.
And so I really love that there is a moment in this scene where that's emphasized.
And, this visual, if you look down, Keba, would you zoom in behind the fire for me?
Gotta give me a sec.
It says Hickman.
Oh. Yeah.
I think is just absolutely incredible. And I just really love.
Yeah, I see that now. Hickman.
Yeah, Hickman. I just
And
think that's so
then
cool. Mutants are
Mutants,
friends.
right.
But we still have the classic freak from the back of God Loves Man Kills, right below Mutants Are Friends, which is so great. There is just so much exquisite work in the background of this show. The thing I wanted to comment on Daredevil here. Daredevil is a character whose 1960s visage is a little bit different than a lot of the other characters because he didn't get the same stable of artists working on him that Amazing Spider-Man did regularly. He was kind of the also-ran. So this exquisitely thick haloing is actually an element of Daredevil. And while there's times I feel maybe perhaps like it looks a little out of sequence with the rest of the universe around it, the quality of this haloing is something that is so intrinsic to Daredevil's bubblier, softer, more feminine look in so many ways. Now, Kevo just informed me that he has a screenshot that I need to talk about pretty actively. This is like I kind of need to be a canonista for a second, and I need to have this debate. Guys, can Rogue thunderclap? Can she canonically thunderclap? Like, there are so few fucking people in the Marvel universe who can effectively concussively thunderclap.
So this is what I will say. Brie Larson's Ms. Marvel can thunderclap.
Okay.
People who are coming to this casual and fresh know that Rogue has Miss Marvel's powers.
Okay, I'm in. I want her to be able to. I am so in. I think Monet can thunderclap, and I won't hear otherwise. So I want her to be able to.
I actually like that. I would not have said that, but I don't hate that.
I think she can make the wind with her fingers. Like she can
something
use
else.
guidance.
Something else that I screenshot for all the complainers, by the way. Oh, I thought I had it right here next to this one.
I really thought we were going to talk about how
Yes.
none of these are Beto's powers, but anyway, go ahead.
There it is. Are you happy? It's there.
Yeah,
it was there. She has
first
it.
thing my partner Jake noticed.
Are you happy?
Yep.
Yep.
No,
it's
they're
there.
not.
No, they're
they'll
never
be
happy. Anyway.
The Rogue that we know from the comics that absorbed the Carol Danvers powers that we know from the comics could not do this. This could never have happened before X-Men Legacy. And then after X-Men Legacy, this would only have happened when she absorbed other people's powers, not Carol's powers. The Rogue we know could not have done this. It's just not happening. But this is a rule of cool thing, and I do think that explanation of like I fully believe Brie Larson's Captain Marvel can get the message that stuff is going down, fly home from space, puncture through a Chitauri ship, and beat the shit out of Thanos. She can absolutely thunderclap. So it does make a little bit of sense for people who are like, I know 3 facts surrounding this, and I can call them all together to make something that works. But yeah, I also had that same thought of like, this is not where we started.
This is
not what I
not
grew up
Kohatmu sanctioned.
No, sir.
I
Thank you.
think-
It's perfect.
There's a really interesting parallel with that, though. The very first episode, as soon as we turned it on, and Magneto did that little elevator trick where he used his optic blast to soften his fall.
Oh, Cyclops,
And-
yeah.
Cyclops, yeah.
Who did I say? Oh, God.
You said the beautiful Magneto, so nobody's judging you because you said a name that just invades your dreams in his cute little purple briefs. It's not your fault.
Did I say beautiful or did you say beautiful?
I said your place is really beautiful.
But they've been doing things, and that I think also speaks to what I was talking about earlier, which is there's things that they can get away with because they are an animated show that you really can't get away with in live action, that you can't get away with, that you get away with differently in comics is the thing too. Something that really keeps hitting me about this finale and where things are left for the characters and for the world is that like all those people are dead. A ton of destruction really happened to the world. There's no way. Like I joke a lot about like the Celestial reaching out of the Indian Ocean in Eternals doesn't really affect the planet that much. The Earth is fine. This was a big deal. And these are stakes and scales that I don't think that you can get away with as much in live action. That I think maybe you can get away with more or in different ways and buy back in different ways in comics. So that left me really shocked at the conclusion of all of this.
There's a couple of other things that I really want to make sure that we get to do before today's episode finds itself at a conclusion. But the first thing I want to do is make sure everybody gets a chance to talk about their moments, the moments that just snagged their heart and didn't let go. I've had an opportunity to talk about so many. There's one that I would like to just point out because Kebo was kind enough to have screenshots for me. But in my headcanon, there is no world where Cyclops doesn't root for Logan and Jean, because there's almost no chance that there is a day of the year where Cyclops might not die. Right? So Cyclops knows that there is some world out there where Jean is going to be lonely and sad, and there's a man that she loves waiting to be alongside her, waiting to support her in her excellence, in her phoenixosity, and seeing Scott be that man to say, don't you dare break her heart. Damn, dude, way to nail it. And way to nail it.
What you do being his catchphrase and Scott evoking it. And frankly, if you even want to put a little bit of a twist on it, and the fact that they do have a playfully antagonistic relationship, something I caught as I was reading him saying heel is, yup, like a dog. Yeah, but it's all in good faith and good fun, and it is all about them being family. And I think leaving Wolverine as the person in crisis this episode was a really interesting and powerful choice in that regard, because he's normally thought of as their powerhouse. They really let him take a back seat this season. But yeah, no, this moment I wanted to make sure to get for myself as well, because I really thought it was very cool. And this isn't necessarily my moment that I'm picking, but it was really, really a great, important thing to include, because a lot of people like to say they hate each other. They just hate each other. No, they clearly don't.
I'm also not here. I just want to say, no one's required to only pick one moment. There were a lot of great moments, and whatever's in your heart, just show that panel.
I think it's also really important to note that a lot of this season was about how their relationships are all very complicated. Rogue was so happy to have a person back that she had a connection with. At first, you can even see that it's not really romantic. She's just so happy to have Magneto back in her life, but she doesn't really even seem to be thinking about it romantically. And then they go to Genosha, and she realizes that he's asking for more, and that might make more sense. We get all the way to the point where she kisses him. She really is considering, she has decided to stay with him, but she realizes that she is in fact in love with Remy, and that obviously does not work out. But in that same way, Scott really does not know who he loves, because it's very complicated who Madeline and Jean are. And, obviously he loves Jean, but Madeline actually is the person that bore his child and who he had to bond with sending the child away. And so, they have a psychic affair. And then Madeline is a memory that we're all thinking about. And so this idea that he wouldn't begrudge Jean and Logan the fact that they have a complicated relationship too. He at no point is he like, and we should do a throuple thing, or when you wake up, I'll gently back away and you two can be together. It's just
let's Kath.
Yeah, it's all just complicated. All it is complicated, and all that he is saying is, she loves you, come back. And I thought that was really mature and beautiful, and much more true to everything we know to be the case than either sweeping it entirely under the rug or going too much to the other side and him being like, I'm leaving Jean, so you have to wake up so you can be with her. I will piggyback off this moment a little bit and say one of mine was one of the moments that makes this also complicated, which is Jean and Scott saying goodbye to Nathan.
Oh, and Kevo, you had that really beautiful screenshot of it earlier.
You
that
did, yeah.
Amazing
with them sitting at the booth.
Yeah. What a great moment, TK.
Yeah.
There's my
you
bro.
look great there, TK.
A whole bunch.
And there's them in the stupidest costumes we could have picked for them to change into. Why did we choose those guys?
And I love the moment of Jean showing affection to him as well. You know, I would have loved her maybe carrying it a little more across the finish line, but like it's there. The maternal affection is shown so many times throughout the whole finale. I'm not complaining for sure.
Yep. That she, you know, holds back his eye blast so they can look into his eyes. This was just really sweet and beautiful. And again, complicated. She is not his mother, but she is his mother. You know, here we chose, X-Men 97 chose not to do the Madeline gives all her memories to Jean. Jean has, you know, Madeline's resonance within her, or whatever we've described it as in the past. No, it's, you know, she is kind of an aunt, stepmother. It's all complicated. It's all really complicated. But in that moment, she is the closest thing he has to a mother, and she knows that she loves him.
We've all seen Stepmom starring Julia Roberts and pre-crazy Susan Sarandon.
That's what it is. There it is.
Ali Galactic.
Also,
had me crying too. Do just want to say emotional highlight for me. And there's never a bad moment of Jubilee playing nighttime fireworks show.
Who else got moments?
Well, Kev, I'm so sorry. You had said also.
I don't remember. Jojo, do you have one?
Yeah, Jojo, what you got?
Yes.
What was that? Ooh, he's ready.
You're ready. You're locked and loaded.
I'm ready, because if you stay ready, you ain't gotta get ready. My moment, I really enjoyed Kurt being there when Rogue woke up and was talking to her and just kind of like talking through her with the that moment was really special to me. And then I forget who Kurt was talking to, but Kurt talking to someone saying, I think maybe it might have been Jean. Me and Wogue found one another and we've bonded over our mother, and we could have been enemies, we could have been strangers, we could have been hateful, but we chose a relationship and we chose love. Family, blood is blood, family is chosen. And I think that was a really sweet and beautiful message that they used Kurt to get the point across of family can be your blood, but your chosen family is also valid, and chosen families are real.
That's another one that I actually made a note of, because I also loved that moment, but I especially loved it because, like, I, as somewhat of an ex-outsider, I'm not super aware of their sibling relationship. Like, their parentage is also something that had been a mystery for me for a very long time until I came further into fandom, and I don't really feel like that's something that's penetrated the movie-verse vernacular and awareness at all, even in the last decade. So having it acknowledged here and having it highlighted here, because it is such a really important thing, and we keep talking so much about X-Men as family, and it's all the different ways that they are family, and it's the way Jean is a mother to Cable even though she's not. It's all about the different forms of family.
And part of what it makes me think about is the fact that the issue that made them siblings, X-Men Unlimited #3, one of the most famous issues in X-Men canon post Claremont, was not out when they started the show. It came out in, I think, 93, 92. And so the show had wrapped production pretty much when that issue came out. Nightcrawler had been in Excalibur in some regard from 1988 on. So of course he wasn't really in the show. There's a lot of reasons that this dynamic was not explored. And I do also want to say, number one, Charles, the neediest. He's just always finding a way to not be able to use his legs or powers in a way that makes things harder for the X-Men, to the point where I think he's doing it on purpose. But there was a lot of fear, from what I remember reading, about executives thinking that Beast and Nightcrawler couldn't both be in the animated show. There couldn't be two blue furries. This is just how far we've come. We just accept furries now. So but I really do love that you pointing to this. I've been saying a lot how in the last couple of years, more and more, I realize that like Rogue is the X-Men for me. You can kind of take anybody else out of the X-Men and I'd still read it. But if you take Rogue out, I'm not really sure what's there. And it's a weird feeling where I do think focusing on her relationships, despite not making every episode Rogue-centric, was exquisite.
I think it's a double thing. It happens that Lenore Zahn is the most effective voice actor who is also the most recognizable. And when you put those two together, like, because Rogue is such an integral X-Men with so many great connections, and because Lenore Zahn has such a great voice and just acted her heart out, it really made a ton of sense. I think the person that is second most that is the voice actor who does Storm.
Hey, Bub, I can think of 6 reasons that someone else is more memorable.
Not that guy.
I actually think I think Cal Dodd's Wolverine is probably the most memorable, to be honest. I think of the characters who we go, that's the only way the character can sound. Even when you see Hugh Jackman, you hear Cal Dodd. You hear Holly Berry. You hear Anna Paquin being like, I got an Oscar, that's why they asked me, True Blood. But like, I can't project Lenore Zahn's, not in an offensive way, in a genuinely honest way. She was so much older sounding for me than the visual. Rogue was the least effective character visually for me, because Lenore Zahn sounded roughly 50 and the character looked 24. And so I just kept feeling like, if you knew someone whose voice sounded that off in person, you'd always think that every time they spoke. I know that because people think I should sound more masculine.
There's nothing wrong with your voice aging either, but I still give The Simpsons a chance every now and then. I watched a bunch from the last season. I want to get more into the new ones, but I hadn't watched anything new in like a while. And so I put on a short that was just released for Star Wars, and it was a Mother's Day short focused on Marge. And oh my goodness, the voice actor for Marge, it's been 35 years of doing a very gravelly voice. And wow. Is it a lot? Is it a lot to listen to? And it sounds like it hurts her throat. And so I don't, if I see where you're coming from. That's all.
And it's not that I think anybody did a bad job in any of the voice work this season.
No, the performances were great.
Yeah, the voice actor for Morph gave everything every episode that they were given dialogue, which maybe felt like not enough. The voice actor for Beto brought some dialogue that made my feels not super strong to life in a beautiful way. The new voice actress for Jubilee brought Jubilee to life in a way that I thought was so seamless, so unforgettably on, that I was so relieved to hear that, when you do make one of these changes, necessary changes to acknowledge cultural sensitivities, to make sure that art continues to exist in a way that it supports, encourages, and protects people, right? Even when art makes people uncomfortable, sure, but it should be about making people uncomfortable in safe zones. Planned spontaneity. And I think this voice actress for Jubilee elevated things so far. Also, I don't want to forget, since they're right up there, there's no world in my brain where they don't come back from Ages of Apocalypse and Further Adventures and Adventures of Cyclops Engineering, because I think they're doing all of it. I think they're coming home to Onslaught. And I think that's why we met the rest of the Marvel Universe, so that when we come home to do Onslaught versus the Marvel Universe as its own separate thing, we're ready. We met everyone. You don't have to introduce Cap and Iron Man anymore. Also, geez, this is a really complicated way to do 2 really complicated storylines. I'm eager to see if they can handle this much appropriation in one place.
I mean, so this is Blood of Apocalypse.
It's Blood and Ages,
Rise.
and it's so many.
But the big thing is, who is Apocalypse's main enemy at that time?
Back then,
Me.
Yeah.
It's what's his name? The Fantastic Four villain. Oh, why can't I think of his name? Oh my God, it's Kang! Oh my God, it's one of Kang's faces! Oh my God, it's Rama Tut!
Yes.
Interesting.
I hadn't gotten there right away.
Yeah. So that's in the mix too. For all that we have lost one Kang in the Marvel universe, we have another one, and then of course we have this that we are.
We lose a majors and someone joins the minors.
There you go.
TK.
Yeah.
Speaking of really fun and interesting things, I don't know if you had caught.
I did.
as I was
Jojo.
getting all.
Well, hold on.
Oh,
Kenny, you wanna
Jonah
tell
doesn't know.
because I don't
I
think
think
JoJo knows.
So Jonah Mother Ascani is being voiced by another amazing space mother who has to do with things involving orphans with bizarre astronomical powers. She is voiced by one Gates McFadden, aka Beverly Crusher. We love a space mom.
And Kevo, I really want to thank you for having that cast list up. Just we talk about all of these actors every episode. It's really nice to just get a chance to see their names up there. And
Ooh, Ross
appreciate all that
Marquand
they
is
did.
also Apocalypse.
Did
I love
Apocalypse-
that.
Oh, I guess he did speak at the end. Yeah.
Yeah,
he
he
said
was
his name.
no, oh my God, and Saban Nur is credited as somebody different. That's Apocalypse.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
Oh,
it's from
Oh,
who's Beetleborgs? Who's the voice? I can't find it.
For who?
There it is. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So yeah, very interesting that Gates McFadden is Mother
Mother.
Ascani. I'm so excited to see how that turns out next season. I'm also realizing that they don't mention who's voicing Nate.
Oh, I wonder if it is
The guy who's doing
Chris
Cable.
Potter doing a kid's voice.
Yeah.
I am also a baby.
I mean, they love trying to do stuff like that. We were just talking about it, so
it's a bummer that Xavier didn't go with them, because then we could have had him say, "Damn it, Nathan," and it just to bring it full circle. But yeah, it is really wild that this one little moment where we don't know what happened aboard Asteroid M sent them off into like 4 different X-Men stories. And again, this is that thing that I'm talking about where like the show just kind of pulls what it wants when it wants. That Apocalypse pulling one of Gambit's cards and talking about death is of course a reference to the fact that Apocalypse made Gambit death, but that was years later. That was after the decimation.
Well, and then here we have the DOF board.
Yep. And
That's
This
Days
was-
of Future for those.
and
who
we
don't
get
know.
Kevo, do you have a wider shot of the board? I think, yeah. So like, Dust is here. Like Dust being in the mix in 97 is insane.
Can I say that's someone on the team must really love Dust. Not that I
Yeah.
don't love the Dust cameo, but that's wild.
No, it's
Yeah.
from another. It's from another Days of Future Past cover. There's a remake of the Days of Future Past cover with Laura and Julian,
Right.
and a couple of these are from that cover instead. But they must love Dust to put her here. But like, this has some basis in reality
It's got precedent for sure. It's
because
just like-
Jubilee and Sunspot and Magic.
I love the Shadow Cat. Look at her.
she's
She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's Shadow
She
Cat
looks like
about.
Seal.
She's an
Giving everything.
entrepreneur.
She's
She's
like
an
a pop star.
entrepreneur island.
She's an meow.
It's just fascinating that they put Dust here over someone like Polaris.
Agreed.
They have Havoc there. They also have Scarlet Witch. They don't have Quicksilver on there, which is
Oh no, they do.
hysterical.
He's dead. If you zoom back
no,
in,
he's
dead.
off-world with his sister.
Oh, I'm sorry. He's off-world, but here, right there.
Yeah,
Um,
here he is.
Oh, he's on there. Okay, at least he
Yeah.
wasn't next to her.
Well, and like the way his eyes are covered, he could easily be his nephew. Like, there are certain people who have generic visuals.
but I do think we will be seeing a bunch of these characters as backup X-Men. And that's why I'm like, it'd be really cool if it was like 3 years later and they'd all been at this for a hot minute.
Oh,
and
I
maybe
love
not-
that.
Yeah,
not doing so great.
especially because then you can do stuff with the gap in between. You can have there be stories you go back to, but if you give no time passage whatsoever, it has to stay tight, and you
It's-
can't give character growth off screen.
It's also seeing Emma there. We might do Massachusetts Academy or Emma as
Ooh,
the principal.
maybe we'll get Gen X the movie.
Speaking of Emma, she's labeled as Emma Frost and not
Yep.
White Queen.
Yep. So
Again.
she might have taken a pay cut or walked away
Hateful.
from a job.
This
But
is
yeah, I
non
mean,
stack for her.
this will be really interesting to see. Again, this is just like the Dust thing in particular is another thing where like that Dust won't show up as a character in continuity for 4 years after 97. So like they really will just pull whatever they want from whenever they want and kind of put it into this little blender. And I think that's super fun. It's just, I think it's great because it means that look at his little gay
Right?
ass.
It
Come
was a
hither. Yeah, he really loves his man. They love each other so much.
Hugs.
So I had meant to play a quick little game, but we talked about this season for so long. I hope we can still do it real fast. All I want to do is say how we ultimately felt about a number of the characters throughout their arc, using some of the incredible images from the multitude of custom cut theme songs that it seemed like every single episode got. Cyclops, on the whole, this season, I thought he had some really cool moments. I thought he had some really dumb moments, but I mostly thought he went, How about you guys?
He's a B+ for me.
Okay.
Yeah, trending upward. I think this was a really good showing for Cyclops. I think the only thing that made Cyclops a good showing in the live action films is when he's played by a hot dude. And you can't really get away with that as easily in animation. I think they played a really good side of him here.
Jonah, other than the backside he's showing, what side of Cyclops do you like?
All sides. Cyclops was pretty great in this. A lot of focus, but that makes sense. Cyclops always gets a lot of focus in the X-Men. He's one of the main characters. Love that. I don't know if this was specific, the reference, but a lot of the specific, like, whoosh, when he, like, would really go hard with his optic blast just made me think of Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and then how we'll never have a fighting game similar to that ever.
Sure. Like, and just agreement. I'm sure you're right. That was meant to encourage, not cut off.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Good.
I just didn't have much more to say other than, like, yeah, it's pretty cool. He was there.
All right. Let's roll on through to Jean Grey, who got like easily one of the best power-ups this season. They went out of their way to make sure she didn't seem like a damsel. I was really impressed. How did you guys feel?
Still not powerful enough. We're at the point currently in comics, and granted, things take time. Jean Grey is telepathically able to send herself through time and transfer her consciousness throughout her, not only her multiple bodies, but just anybody that she kind of wants. She can literally psychically, telepathically project herself in any way that she wants.
And then
Not strong
fertilize eggs.
There's a meme that I saw where it was the cute exchange between her and Storm, and she's like, make sure they mind your weather, and Storm says, try not to faint. And she did a really good job of not fainting this season. So, yeah, she was good. I know that she can be a really touchy subject for some people, but like Scott, I think she gave really good this season.
She's another B+ for me. The disappointment in her B+ is maybe like Jean is an A+ character, and I think I could see little places where they could have done her a little better to really make her iconic, which given how terrible she is in the original, I think would have been worth it, but she's still great. Solid B+.
I think some of my A- for her comes from loving Madeline, who didn't get a title card. So
Yeah,
I'm just giving them a...
That's fair.
True. But someone who did get a title card, and I don't think that we're going to have a huge problem with this ranking.
I only wish that a handful of cast members hadn't described her or pronounced her name as Aurora. That was not my favorite. Aurora, Storm, incredible. Other than the fact that she was off the board for a little more than I would have liked.
Yeah.
Even when off the board, people talked about her like an A+. So even her off the board time average is an A-.
that she was the only one to get like a really big feature solo story, I think is notable, even if she wasn't there for all of the X-Men action stuff. So it kind of balances out. A minus. The only other thing I think is the hair. I get that it's tough, but we got to do it. We all got to accept it. There's no real excuses at this point. You know, whether it's in the comics or in the animated series, we know what black hair is supposed to look like, and it's okay to show that. It is right to show that. It's correct.
And I just want to say, I think black hair is like so incredibly beautiful. One of the things that I experienced was a bit of culture shock. I had never really seen a lot of beautiful natural black hair. And so then all of a sudden, when a lot of music videos, watching like the MTV Beach House growing up, showcase natural black hair, I was just like, this is so beautiful. Why don't even like fictional characters who are black have this? Come to find out, it's because at the time, Bishop was created and meant to be a dark-skinned I believe Filipino person, and the character evolved to where he was redefined and recontextualized. And so like, this is a battle we've been waging forever. You know, Jonah, you inherited this. You came into the X-Men with these sorts of conversations going on. How did you feel about Storm's progress throughout the season?
This was much better. One, correctly identifying her as an omega level mutant. Two, I couldn't see where young kids would love Storm in the original series, but I feel like the original series didn't do a lot of Storm justice in terms of her storylines and what an actually amazing character she is. So I appreciate that X-Men 97 trying to kind of do its due diligence and rectify the justice that Storm deserves of being the best, objectively the best X-Woman, point blank period ever.
Agreed. Kevo, you said you were positive on this, right?
Yeah, she's great. I really appreciated TK's point about she did get a focus, and that was really good for her. And hopefully she gets a lot more to tackle next season. So another character who doesn't need introductions, but does need to put on some pants.
No, yeah,
I love how much he was naked this season. That was one of the many reasons this was not a children's show.
Wolverine helped me be gay. I just want to thank the older gay men of the world for taking care of us young whippersnappers in 1992. And so it was really great to see one of the things that they chose to do here was have Wolverine sort of give room for Beto and Jubilee to explore their story. I think the lack of Wolverine earns Wolverine that big thumbs up from me.
A minus, and it was great that he was used so sparingly. Marvel in general is too much Wolverine. I think that they did it perfectly here. The fact that they picked a really iconic moment to use him for was great, but I think the less we saw him, the better.
Yeah, I really get that in a positive way. I think that
Yeah.
Wolverine is often a character who is used well sparingly. I'd like to maybe see him get his own focus story like Life Death next year, but you know.
Jojo, how do you feel about the only person I've ever seen who has more natural body hair than you?
Wolverine was pretty good. I like that he did take a mentorship role. I love that we did kind of get Wolverine and his girl, because I think that was something not explicitly missing from the original, because Jubilee was still there, and that was during the time when Jubilee was his girl. It just felt because they were making her the Kitty stand-in.
Yeah,
It felt like they were trying to focus on Kitty's relationships with other people as opposed to Kitty's relationship with Wolverine. But he's pretty great. I really enjoyed Wolverine this season.
You know, one of the things about Morph that I find complicated is this was Exiles Morph, not Morph. That said, Exiles is like my favorite X-Men comic of all time. I just think it's probably number 3 of all time. Number 1 is New X-Men. But you know, this was I give Morph from the original a D minus. I give this character an A. I wish there had been 80% more of this character. but just was so happy. This is my Judd Winnick creation. Thank you, the real world, for giving us Judd Winnick, and thank you, the real world, for giving us Morph, who is one of the most important things to ever happen to comics.
I agree, and if I give it a minus at all, it's specifically because I feel like they didn't give us enough. I feel like they maybe held back on Morph in terms of characterization or story, but it feels like with all those sinister threads, there is something that they do have thoughts, and so it's another one where I hope we see expansion as the series goes on.
Yeah, I have no problem with Morph. I love that he's non-binary, that they're non-binary. I think that's a great angle. Again, my thing has always been like, if you physically can be anything, of course you're non-binary. Like, that this is even a controversy is kind of silly to me. I love that the show is doing it,
Of course.
but I hate living in a world where this is even this is the first time a lot of people are seeing it and people are grossed out by it. Like, this one to me is not even like, it's a formless person. That's literally the point of them. So, you know, but I love that they were able to do this with the character, and I'm excited to see what else they come up with. I would really love to get Morph back in the comics too. I'm hoping this generates some excitement.
Jonah, I literally think that Exiles reads like a positive Lana Del Rey album, and I feel like you would really, really love Exiles. How did you feel about Morph, even in this limited capacity that they were in?
I think it was great to bring Morph back, give Morph a lot more screen time, but I don't know how to fully feel about it because I don't know if Morph really got a lot, especially in the opening where it's like Morph's going to be kind of like confronting this thing that they had with Sinister,
right?
And then got none of that, and Morph was just kind of there.
Got to be like, I'm a mean mirror, bitch. You're old. Yeah, no, we all have the same reaction. Yep. That was it. That's all it came to, the finale moment. That's the one. See, we got it. It happened. I do want to say Rogue is my ex-girl. She my baby. I love her. Yeah, S+++. This was the season of Rogue. Jonah, you said it. I have nothing to add. S+.
Yeah, she's the heart of the show, and I think she's done really well. My only slight thing that I disagree with you guys on is I was really bothered for the first like 2 episodes by how clearly Lenore Zahn's voice has aged, and then somehow it sunk into place. You
got used to it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think she suddenly sounded younger. And I would say I think it has more to do with like me getting used to it than it does like it's actually fine. But like it ended up where it really bothered me to the point I was like, I think this maybe is going to be a thing that doesn't allow her to work for me. By the end of it, it just like, I think it was just the fact that the speeches were so much more important than the voice that it just became like my body was just like, figure out how to be okay with it.
And Rogue's not a child or anything, so it's not like, you know, she's supposed to sound like it's just, it's maybe a little bit more Natasha Lyonne in terms of how intense and low it sounds.
Well, I think that's such a good example because that's actually that's a voice that believably is really gravelly but young still. Lenore Zahn does just sound like she aged. Like that's the problem is she just does sound in her 50s.
By the way, I've decided that they've cast Natasha Lyonne as Galactus's mom.
I told Jake Galacta.
Yeah, I'm in. I don't want her to just be like, hey, I'm Alicia Masters, and I'm taking a role from a blind person. I want it to be like, I'm an absurd casting. Love it. All right, let's hit our next person. Was he in this season? Did he do anything? I don't actually have an opinion.
It's a C for me. Just why have him around in the background so much? I don't.
Yeah, it's almost like he's the Giles, but like I don't think he's supposed to be the Giles. Isn't like he was very, very inactive except for when they wanted him to kind of come in and be the Hulk for them. I don't know if that's common for Hank, but I didn't love it.
Joj, what did you think of as the other science degreeman? What did you think about Beast's backgroundman status?
Beast was there. I feel like Because of the specific storylines that they were doing, a lot more people got a lot more focus. That's fine, but that relegated a couple of people to the background all more, and especially with the things that were a little bit more unique. So like the Genosha stuff that was reminiscent of the Krakoa era with the Hellfire Gal and all that stuff, they chose Rogue as to kind of be the central part of that, and Magneto and a couple of and Gambit. Beast was animated. I'll say that.
He was on the show, and you could recognize him, and you knew who he was. He was a cameo. What a great cameo.
Well, let's talk about somebody who went from a cameo to the name of the game. Truly, 10,000 points. I maybe even thought Gambit served no real purpose until he died, but it was almost like Gambit realized that in dying, he could give Rogue, who served a purpose, a place to exist. I don't know. I thought that Gambit's sacrifice kind of came out of nowhere, but I ultimately think that it propelled the season forward in a beautiful way. Here's to you, Mrs. Calendar. Krakoa loves you more than you may know.
Cheers.
Thumbs up.
I didn't really care about Gambit one way or the other up until Remember It. He was actually starting to annoy me because he was just seeming very whiny. And then Remember It bought it all back and made it really amazing. One of the things I will say is seeing the joy of Rogue and Gambit fighting when they think they can kick the shit out of the Sentinels in Remember It is actually one of the coolest moments that I think really goes unsaid. Like, it's just heartbreaking that they lose because they really think like we're killing it here. And that's when I really started to like Gambit for a second, and I love that they killed him on me.
Yeah.
Jojo, what you think about this here Gambit?
Well, I say, Foghorn Leghorn.
Yeah, it's pretty close.
Gambit was pretty great. I
won.
actually, like, in a way, like, I understand the purposes of storytelling, but I feel bad for the voice actor getting to do less episodes, and I know that the voice actor was really excited to be able to play Gambit. But it's also, I know that it's come and take, you push and pull, if you will. I don't know if I fully agree with the idea of the sacrifice, but I do understand the story needs stakes. And I think, Kevin, you talked about that earlier with the idea of death, and you have to give real life impact to meaning in certain things, and Gambit was the unfortunate loss. So it is unfortunate, but win for diversity, because it was it propelled Rogue storyline. I don't know.
Yeah,
a man getting fridged for a woman. I guess that's reverse diversity.
Yeah, they fridged a white male poker player to advance a Southern Belle storyline. That's the opposite of the film Double Jeopardy starring Ashley Judd. Kevo, Next one, Jubilee, big thumbs up because she didn't do a whole lot other than go, wow, in the original. And I think she really imparted some wisdom here. Big thumbs up on Jubes.
Yeah, I give her an A. I had a blast with Jubilee all around.
Big blast.
Hey,
I feel like she mostly did. Yeah, but I feel like she mostly did the same thing in this. So I don't know. I felt like she was maybe a little bit too childish at times. It felt like she needed to be parented by Beto more than she was his mentor figure. And I want good things for Jubilee. And I liked a lot of her softness and her behavior. But like, grow up a little bit, and I think maybe all your friends exploding on a meteor will do that to you. So that's
maybe she'll do great on All Stars.
Yeah, she's going to do great on All Stars, exactly.
Hottest X-Men ever in the history of X-Men ever. Just did nothing this season. It was a plot device this season. Might as well have been a time device this season. Really disappointed by how his use wound up, but hoping it's a big plan for multiple seasons. So I'm just going to give it a B and hope for the best.
He was great when he was there, and I even loved the idea that he was saying he needed to go home. Like, I liked that they jumped right to, okay, what is the end game with this character? Because he did hang around the comics universe too long. And so I love that they jumped right to, let's address his central thing, which is him going back home. But then they just sent him away, and we never really saw him again, and that was kind of a bummer. But I'm hoping you're right. I'm hoping it's for bigger things later.
Jojo, how do you feel about Bish?
Wish he was in more. I feel like maybe the opening credits were a little bit misleading because you think, ooh, Bish is going to be really part of the team. And he played baseball, and then he left.
Well, Kevo, I heard you
Um,
say that you were agreed.
Yes, and I'm gonna jump so we keep the big two to the end, and instead we're gonna go to
S plus, no notes.
No notes.
We
MVP
got
S plus. Nothing to
we
say.
got Swashbuckler Rogue, Swashbuckler Nightcrawler. His relationship with Rogue was amazing. I will say they gave him a very much nice needed buff, and that he was doing a lot of teleports rapidly, and normally he can't do
Yeah.
that because he gets very tired very quickly. It also causes a lot more strain to teleport a lot of people, like the way he was doing, but it's fine. It works. I love it.
Yeah, no notes. This was one of the absolute most incredible surprises of the series. This is part of why I'm so comfortable giving the series an overall A- or better. He was a true delight.
His might be my only S plus because he got the upgrade as well. Like, this is not a character in the animated series. He shows up like twice. He's not really their, he's not a part of the team. He's not really their friend. And the fact that they gave him such a big upgrade into the cast here and because also the character isn't great in the original animated series, that they really buffed up the character, made him really cool, made him sexy, made him a swashbuckler, that we got the POV from the teleporting. To me, he is the one S plus that I'm giving. He is absolutely perfect.
Phenomenal. No notes. Kevo, this is the first time you got real Nightcrawler in any other media than comics.
Yeah, I liked it, and I'm glad of that. Then we love Alan Cumming, and we love Traitors, and I hope in the movie this summer. But I would love to see Nightcrawler represented well. I don't think that we were able to do Nightcrawler in live action at the time that we attempted, but we've come so far, so far. So I really hope that this is one of the many characters that we get to see highlighted in live action soon.
All right.
As opposed to this one, bitch.
A plus, because we're using S pluses. I loved how he was used. He was not an X-Man. He was kept away. He had stupid soap opera drama with characters that I loved seeing him get pwned by and pwn. I loved this use of Professor X. This was my favorite animated Professor X by far. Really, okay. This was, I hope other things achieve this level of Xavier off the board as a godhood creature, as a thing who can't deal with kids anymore. He's just not in that place. And this really played it well.
I agree with everything you said, but like 2 or 3 points less.
Okay,
so
yeah.
like it's a B plus for me. Like, I thought everything was in the right direction, in the ballpark of the right place. I love that he was there with the Shi'ar and we were doing a little bit of recognizable stuff, but then I just it didn't all quite play out the way I wanted it to. It was a little bit whiny. He was kind of like not getting anywhere with them. And
no Pit Kubark.
Yeah. And then and I could go on, but like really good, but just maybe even could have been better.
I do love doing that voice though.
Yes.
And this finale more than anything really highlighted to me how much Charles and Eric talk to each other like drag queens with both the drama and the sassiness. So loved that.
Kevo, I'm so sorry. Jojo, how did you feel about Professor X?
Great. I got one of my favorite Professor X's, Whiny Man Baby in Space. When he's like, I'm smart, and everyone's like, we're all smart here, Charles. You're not special. And he's like, I didn't actually know he was going to be alive. I thought, okay, well, Professor X is going to be dead. And color me surprised, the Duchess is back. Trust the Duchess. He's pretty great. I really enjoyed. They minimize the annoying things I don't like about Charles, and I think enhance the things I do like about him. So it was pretty good.
Yeah.
There's one character who doesn't have a title card, and that kills me. Sunspot, I give him a strong A. But the reason I bring up Sunspot here is because there is nobody who is a better teacher to Sunspot in the entirety of the Marvel Universe than this man right here, who gets the second highest grade from me, just above Rogue, just below Kurt. Magneto made just very few mistakes. What a blessing to see this queer identity of a queer character be perfect, be breathtaking, make his lover's symbol in front of him in the title credits. Just big fan. Just wish that Hal could do this for Sin, and everything would be a whole lot more perfect in this world. And really, thank you, Beau DeMayo. You gave us the version of Magneto we always wanted and never knew that we could get in live action. Thank you so much.
I definitely agree with all that. Love that we got a Magneto's right moment. Loved that he, EMP'd the world and killed a bunch of people and then saved the world. And the world was maybe going to be like, I guess it balances out. But yeah, I thought he was great. I did think he was very queer coded. I thought he was fantastic overall. Kurt is my highest rating. He is my second highest.
I love that.
Same.
Yeah, I like this Magneto a lot. How I feel about this Magneto is really going to depend on season 2. It kind of makes me think of Regina from Once Upon a Time, where a lot of how I was going to feel about her character after the end of season 2 depended on how she behaved going forward, and I ended up continuing to be able to love her. And it matters to me whether or not Magneto is going to fall back on being full villain, if he's just going to be kind of questionable, if he's going to be more of an ally. I really hope they push him more toward being an ally than a full villain, because that gets tired, and they should all be fighting together, not against each other. And so if that's something that we can see, I would love that. And he's stuck with them in the past anyway, so he might as well be on good behavior.
Jonah, how did you feel about one of your favorite characters, Magneto, in this incredible season? Whether you love it or not, it was an incredible opportunity to see Magneto get screen time.
Yes, I really, really enjoyed him. I thought he was really good, really great. Everything about Magneto, I think they really nailed what makes Magneto a great villain, great anti-hero, great hero. Magneto was right.
Well, I think we've been right all season, being super positive, as has Ali Galactic, who absolutely galactic level fan. If I was going to imbue a fan with the power cosmic, it's going to Ali Galactic, who has chimed in with positivity, strong critique, reasonability in her fandom, and a really great perspective on the storytelling. Could not be more excited than to have had a fan like that all season. And I want to thank all the fans that have come in all season long reviewing this with us. We have a major entry in the X-Men universe coming our way in the next couple of months. We're also back to posting on X's for Podcast over on Podcastum. So definitely Secret Wars Multiverse Battle World yourself over that way. I want to do our sign-offs. Make sure to say the thing that you are going to miss the most until we get to X-Men 98 or whatever it may be. Jonah, would you start us off with where we can find you and what you will miss the most until X-Men 9? Oh, you're finally born. Until X-Men 9. I'm just kidding. And saying because you're a little baby.
We get it.
I'm a baby. You can find me everywhere at places at Peak Jonah. That's Peak.
And what's the thing you will miss the most until we get X-Men 98?
Nightcrawler.
Love it. Kevo, you produce us so extraordinaire. What are you going to miss the most until we get X-Men 98? And just like Jonah, where can everybody find you online until they get to see you tomorrow night talking about the double drop premiere of Drag Race All-Stars 9?
You can find me on the socials at Kevorally. That's Kevorally. Got it right this time. And I'm going to miss, I guess, the excitement. I think I love the energy that surrounds projects like this and people getting to enjoy them weekly. So I'm looking forward to what the next one of those will be for the fandom. Teak, what about you? What did you enjoy, and where can the folks find you?
You can find me at TK Elemental. Thing I enjoyed most was the queer coding. Just
yes,
really fun,
that too.
Refreshing to see. Of course, I would like to see not coded, but just clear right on the page. But also, I think, queer coding has been an integral part of the X-Men and is an integral part of life too. You are often coding and speaking in code and not being overt. And so it's all part of the fun. And I can't wait to see more of that. Nico, what you got?
I'm going to miss the opportunity to watch it live, like Kevo's exquisite live watches of Doctor Who these past couple of Fridays and the ones he's going to be on going forward. This would have been a really great opportunity to talk to you guys as we're watching it live and get my, oh my God, face reactions. It would have been a lot of fun. And so I'm going to miss out on the opportunity to do that. But until then, you guys can find me over at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION. And 3 things we'd like you guys to do for us. That's like, comment, and subscribe, because we actually just love talking to you guys. It's a dream come true. But also, there's 3 things we would like you guys to do kind of for you. Right? That's number 1. We want to see you guys be brave, just like the X-Men. You guys are heroes. Number 2, we want to see you guys stay safe, because just like the X-Men, we want to see you guys come back for a season 2. And number 3, we want to see you guys evolve daily, because the future is you guys, who you were yesterday, amazing today, incredible, but tomorrow the best. And until then, we will see you.